Hello friends, my name's Steph. I'm very excited to share with you guys today. This past weekend, went down to a conference in DC. It was the American Library Association ALA conference, which this was my first time attending. I only had access to the giant exhibit halls, which was very cool. This was my first time attending, and it was a whole lot of fun and so very cool. I was able to go with some of my friends and coworkers from the library that I work at, one of them being, and I'll drop their link in the description, I guess. I also tag them in posts pretty frequently, but their name is Chloe over on Instagram at I think it's Broke Bitch Blog is their at. So together we took the train down from Baltimore into DC, where we entered the exhibit halls of the conference. So the conference was split into two big portions. There was an actual, there were sessions of seminars, and then were the exhibit halls, which was this giant open space filled with booth after booth after booth of predominantly publishers and tech companies, people that want to go up to librarians with purchasing powers at their branches and say, hey, don't you want to put our bright shiny technology in your branch? Don't you want to buy our book and have it in your collection? So the way that these publishers advertise the books that they want people to buy for their collections is more or less they just throw books at you left and right. It kind of sounded like Disneyland at first, I'm not gonna lie. My friend said bring as many tote bags as you can, and I thought they were joking. They were not joking. So if you've seen on any of my socials this past weekend, I walked out of a 3-day conference with 81 books. And I wanted to create a way to document it for myself and also to show you all. And so, without further ado, I feel like every YouTuber says that when they get into things, without further ado. So, anyway, here are the books that I got. I'm going to divide this into two parts because 81 books is a lot, and if I talked about every book for minimum 1 minute, this would be a video that is well over an hour long. So I'm going to do a video of just all of the finished copies of things that I received. That's this video, the one that you're in right now. And then advanced reader copies of things that I got, I'm going to make a separate video because I got 30 of them alone. So we're going to go through probably about 40 books today. I'm not 100% sure. Not every book that I picked up, by the way, is for me. I picked up a lot of books on behalf of some of my friends and for book donations to a nonprofit that I work with, a local nonprofit in Baltimore that I work with. Because to be honest, I do not need 80 books entirely for me. According to, okay, a bit of a tangent, I have every book that I own cataloged into a spreadsheet because I'm a type A personality and I think it's really fun. So according to my spreadsheet, I have about, including everything I have here, I own about 380 books, which sounds ridiculous, but this is a lifetime collection. Many of these books I've owned since I was in like middle school. This is like over a decade of work. But anyway, so I have the finished copies of the books that I received today in a couple different categories to try and break up by type of book, if that makes sense. Also, I'm not going to record all of this sequentially, so if at some point in the middle of the video things get brighter, that's because I recorded it earlier, sorry. So first I think I'm going to start with the middle grade books that I received. There are only a couple of them. But here we go. First one, we've got New From Here by Kelly Yang. This one just came out a couple months ago, earlier this year. I know we already have it in our collection at my library. But it follows a 10-year-old boy whose family moves from Hong Kong to California in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it goes through his life and experiences, both being a child that has such a massive move, and also his experiences being an Asian American immigrant in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And unfortunately, I imagine it's probably going to touch on the onslaught of anti-Asian hate that occurred as it broke. But I have a feeling it's going to be a happy read. What's exciting about this one, I actually got to meet Kelly Yang when I received this book, and she actually signed it for me, which is so sweet. And then the next day at the conference, I went to another signing for Kaysen Calendar, author of Felix Ever After, and Kelly Yang was also there signing, and so she signed a poster, like an advertisement poster for the book, and she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, hi again. I feel like we've been hanging out all weekend." I was like, "Oh, Kelly Yang, thank you so much." So that's very fun. I am excited to read that. I think that's one that I'm going to be gravitating towards. I just think the cover is so cute too. Like, look at that little design. He's wearing a little dinosaur costume. I'm excited. Okay, so next I have The Barefoot Dreams of Petra Luna by Alda P. Dobbs. This one is about a 12-year-old girl. It takes place in 1913, who unfortunately lost both of her parents, and she is trying to cross the border from Mexico into the United States. I'm hoping this one's a happy-ish read, but premise alone sounds a little heavy-hitting, but we'll see. We'll find out. So I'd like to read that one as well. Well, I want to read all of these, so we'll see. Okay, up next I have one from Disney, which, okay, controversial, new thing about me, I've never read a Rick Riordan book ever. Oops. So this will be my first ever Rick Riordan book. It's from his imprint, Rick Riordan Presents, which, unlike some other white authors out there, Rick Riordan uses his Presents imprints to actually highlight authors of color telling stories that feature characters of color, instead of whining and complaining that older white men no longer have a place in publishing and are just so disadvantaged. Anyway, cough, cough, cough. But oh shoot, I'm just now realizing this is actually the 5th book in the series. I didn't realize that when I picked it up. I picked it up because I know Arusha is something that we have in our collection. I work in a library that circulates a lot of children's materials, and so I wanted to be able to read this so I could promote it to kids. But shoot, if it's the 5th book in the series, I'll figure it out. That's okay. Okay, so moving on, I have a book. Look at this beautiful cover. It's called, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce things, blanket statement for like every book. I'm sorry if I mispronounce things. It's called, this is The Last Cuentista by Donna Barba Higuera. This is actually, I'll admit, I didn't know very much about it when I picked it up either. I walked past the booth as the author was signing the book, and the people working the booth were like, "Hey, do you want a signed book from a Newbery Award winner?" And I said, "Oh, okay, sure, absolutely I do." So our main character's name is Petra, and she is in a dystopian future where the Earth has been destroyed by a comet. So she and a couple of other, I guess they're colonizers, I don't know. She and a couple of other people from Earth have been cryogenically frozen, put to sleep, and sent out to another planet where they start a new colony. And when she wakes up, she discovers that she is the only person who remembers Earth. So we'll see. And the very last of my middle grade books, and the one that I'm maybe the most excited for, is Aviva versus the Dybbuk by Mari Lowe. I am so excited for this one. This is one that the story takes a lot of influence from the Jewish folklore of the Dybbuk. Which the branch that I work at, we have a massive Jewish population that comes and uses our services, and so I know that this is a book that my patrons are gonna love, and for that I know I'm gonna love it too. So this was the last copy that they had in the booth, so when they gave it to me, they also gave me the little promotional flags that came with it. So according to these, the Aviva versus the Dybbuk is a book that comes with very high regard, so something to think about. And since they're middle grade, I think they'll be pretty quick and easy to burn through, I imagine. So that's exciting. Here's a quick one. In finished copies, I think I only got one nonfiction book, and it is Unthinkable by Jamie Raskin. So this is a book about the January 6th insurrection on the American Capitol on the White House. I picked this up from the HarperCollins booth, which they had their own like little street set up, their own little alleyway that was their own booths. It was very self-contained, and it felt like such an event. But on their very last day, on the last day of the conference, is the day that all of the exhibitors, all of the booths try to give away everything that they came with, because it costs money to ship everything out to DC where the convention was. It'll cost money to ship all of it back to wherever their offices are. So they don't want to carry it all back to their cars, so they just try to get rid of as much of it as they possibly can. So I'm taking a stroll down HarperCollins alleyway and I see this book. I'm there with my friend Chloe and I point to it and I say, oh, that's the book that our patrons keep asking about, because a lot of our patrons love books about current events, and the author, Jamie Raskin, is a politician here in Maryland. So our patrons have, like, we have such a holds queue for this book. Like, so many people want to read it, and the HarperCollins staffer hears me say this and says, oh, do you want a copy? Do you want a copy? Here you go. I was like, okay, sure. So now here we go. I have a copy. If I ever want to read more of the intimate details of the January 6th insurrection, now I can. So, okay, and then moving on, I have a couple of books that are adult fiction / literary fiction, one or the other. So this will be another pretty quick section. So the first one I have is called The Nobodies by Alana Schubach. This is one, I walked past their booth right as the author was setting up for an author signing, and I saw the cover and I said, wait a second, that looks familiar. I actually had an e-galley of this that I had been waiting to read. And so I told the author this and she was like, oh, do you want a physical copy? I said, sure, why not? Because I just personally like reading physical copies a little bit better. And so once again, she signed it. Thank you, ma'am. So I look forward to reading that. The Nobodies is about two best friends named Jess and Nina. And Jess and Nina have a very special power where when they touch their foreheads together, they can switch bodies. So I'm looking for a nice intellectual Freaky Friday moment from this. So thank you very much. I also have a copy of Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi. This is a book that I have seen on our shelves, and I'm not gonna lie, I've wanted to read it because it just has a very beautiful cover, the hardcover edition. It's this gorgeous shade of purple, and it's just so magnetizing. And so I didn't realize that it didn't come out in paperback, but I saw it and I said, let me pick up a copy. So this is a 2020 Booker Prize winner, and it's about this relationship between mother and daughter. From what it sounds like, it treats the mother-daughter relationship very intimately, not in a romantic sense, but in a very, like, it's a special bond that this mother and daughter have, and I believe they have a bit of an emotional falling out and breakup, so to speak. And so I hear that this book is beautifully written, and it's probably going to make me feel things, and for that I am very excited. It's also invitingly thin. It looks like 230 pages or so. So that sounds delightful. And then I also have The Committed, a novel by Viet Thanh Nguyen. This is a cover that looked very familiar to me. I know I've seen this on book lists of people who I trust and respect. So I believe that this is about a spy. I want to say he's a spy. So this one I picked up largely because I really recognize the cover, and I know I've seen it on Instagram a lot. I'm pretty sure it's about a Vietnamese spy, which sounds intriguing to me. So I look forward to reading that as well. This one's a little bit on the longer side, but that's okay. I think I can do it. And then the very last of my adult fiction that I have. So here was exciting. There was going to be, on the second day of the conference, a joint signing between Saba Tahir and Melinda Lowe, where Saba was giving out All My Rage, and Melinda Lowe was going to be signing and giving out advanced reader copies of her sequel to Last Night at the Telegraph Club, A Scatter of Light. So unfortunately, there was a nice big long line for this one too. I waited in line. Unfortunately, Melinda Lowe couldn't make it because she was sick, but they still did give out copies of A Scatter of Light, which you'll be able to see in my ARC book haul, which should be coming up pretty soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But I did receive a copy of All My Rage by Saba Tahir, and yes, indeed, it is signed. And she drew a little headset for it. She handed me this one and she was like, wow, I really took my time on that one. And I was like, oh, and I appreciate it so much. So for as much endless hype as I've seen for this book, I have yet to get my hands on a copy. So I'm very excited to have this one. It's going to even just look beautiful on my shelves. Do you see that? Oh, magnificent. Okay, and then I do just have a couple teeny little miscellaneous books that don't really have a wide category. So let's see, one of the ones I picked up is a book called Here and Queer. It's a queer girl's guide to life. I'm a queer girl-ish. And so it looks like it's a bit of a guidebook, a little bit of a handbook. I used to read books like these when I was younger about like how to be confident in how to be confident. Um, so, you know, it's got some pretty pictures. I'm excited to read that. I think it'll also be a quick little read, so that's nice. I also picked up a copy of Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. Oh boy. So this is my one poetry representation for the haul. I do enjoy reading poetry. They just didn't have a whole lot of it at the conference. Leaves of Grass, I recognize, is an American poetry cornerstone, and it's one that I just have never gotten my eyes on. So I saw a copy and I said, yeah, let me fill this void on my shelves. So it's been out since the 19th century, so it's very much in the public domain right now. That's why there are a bunch of different editions of it. But I like this one a lot. I like that, this is going to sound dumb, I like that there are images that look like leaves of grass on it. So, and then finally, I have this little workbook called Trans Futures Now. It's a little guided journal, and it has some prompts. It's all about inspiring confidence, finding allies, finding voice, when living in the trans experience or being interested in the trans experience. So I am a non-binary woman, which is a bit of an oxymoron, but it's complicated. I don't have to get into it. So this does sort of apply to me, so I might do this for myself. I also might see if I can peddle this off to many of my friends. So yeah, looks fun. So when we last left off, I was talking about this mystery book that I picked up called Framed in Fire by Iona Wishaw. It's a Lane Winslow mystery. So this is from a series of mysteries, sort of like Agatha Christie has her main characters, and so we just follow this lady detective throughout. The publisher told me that our main character, Lane Winslow, is actually based off of the author's real-life grandmother, who was a former World War II spy in South Africa, which sounds interesting to me. So this book is set in spring of 1948, and it's Lane Winslow, and she's solving a mystery. Do I know what the mystery is? Oh, there's an arson involved, and also features one of our lead side characters is an indigenous man, which I thought sounded cool. Okay, let me try again. Okay, so going back to the mystery I was talking about, this is called Framed in Fire. It's a Lane Winslow mystery by Iona Wishaw. I know it's kind of hard to see in this lighting because it's light on light. But this is it's a separate book in a series featuring the same detective, Lady Detective Lane Winslow. The publisher told us that the character is actually based off of the author's real-life grandmother, who was a World War II spy in South Africa, which is wild. In this one, Lane Winslow helps get to the bottom of some recent arsons with her good friend Tom, who is an indigenous character in search of his ancestral lands. So, sounds cool to me. Okay, so next on the docket are some graphic novels. And so these are in no particular order, is what it is. Okay, getting into graphic novels. So this one's called Forever Truffle by Fanny Britt and Isabel Arsenault. This was actually the first book of the entire conference that I was able to pick up. It's 3 short stories featuring our main character, Truffle, who is evidently a bit of an icon. So both of the author and illustrator are both French-Canadian, and I actually got them to sign the book for me, which is really cool. They drew me this little, like, flower with a mouth on it. A little mouth flower. That's fun. So I'm excited to read that. Next one's a bit massive. This was originally $40, and they gave it to me, the author and illustrator gave it to me for free for signing up for their mailing list, which is wild. So, but the author and illustrator are dating, they're a couple in real life, and so it's just a collection of little stories and comics about cats. There are cats involved. I don't know, I really like the monochrome illustrations, and look at all these cats on them. Oh, beautiful. Inside is an ad for another one of their graphic novels that they wrote together, but somebody else illustrated it. It's called Pixels of You, and just hello based on the color scheme alone. I think that's beautiful. I wanted to pick up a copy, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance to. So moving on, next we have a graphic novel called Chef's Kiss. Chef's Kiss by Jarrett Melendez. I also got a chance to meet Jarrett Melendez over from Oni Press. He also signed this for me and drew a little pig on it because there's a pig in this. I have not read this graphic novel just yet, but a friend of mine absolutely adores it, so I'm excited too. Okay, next three I got are mangas from Viz. Viz Media was there. I don't know if I'll admit manga isn't really my thing, and that's predominantly because I know it's a very expensive habit to get into, and I'm just not into it at this time. So here are some mangas that I picked up from them. This one's called Frieren, Beyond End's Journey. Fortunately, they were only giving away like copy number 1 in a series, so that's nice. I'll probably still read them. What's it about? I don't know. Looks like it's fantasy. And then I also got a manga sampler of theirs that includes excerpts from Crazy Food Truck, Imakoi, Now I'm in Love, Orochi, The Perfect Edition, Rooster Fighter, Sakamoto Days, To Strip the Flesh, Yashishime, Princess Half Demon, and Alice in Borderland. So that'll be fun. Nice to dip my toe in. I live with people who really love anime, and some of them absolutely love manga, so I'm familiar here and there. And then this one is self-proclaimed a westernized manga. You can tell because it's front to back instead of back to front, called World Peace. Again, not really sure what it's about. It's okay. Aliens come to Earth, and it's up to our main character, Lucas Denson, to save the planet. There you go. These next graphic novels are the ones that I think I'm most excited about, and not even just for me. So, Teen Titans Raven. I actually picked this one up for my girlfriend because I saw this and I said she's gonna love it. And what do you know? I gave this to her and she said, "How did you know this was the next thing that I was gonna buy?" So that's fun. This is apparently one of her favorite illustrators ever, Gabriel Piccolo. Unfortunately, he wasn't there, but I did get to see Cami Garcia, the author. So she was also lovely. Actually, I take it back. I think this was the first book of the entire conference I got, not Forever Truffle. Either way, I'm still going to read it. I'm very excited. This next one is one that I took a chance on because I had never heard of it, but I saw the author sitting at a booth doing a signing, and I was like, you know, I love everything else. This also came from Oni. I was like, I love everything else Oni puts out, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll buy it. Why not? I'll buy it. And so she did sign it. But anyway, look at these illustrations. I love that it's on black pages. That's something I don't think I've ever seen. Here's a promotional bookmark for it. This is called The Hazards of Love. The Hazards of Love follows a queer non-binary teen from Queens who's dragged into a magical, fantastical place. And it incorporates a lot of elements of Mexican art because our author was born and raised in Mexico, which is super sick. The art is gorgeous. I'm so excited. Okay, next we have, this is maybe one of my girlfriend's most anticipated. This is called Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. Oh, the whole story is an allegory for being trans by Jadzia Axelrod. When I saw that she was here, oh my god, I screamed. I was like, I am blocking off everything in my calendar to go see Jadzia. So let me just show you some pictures. Sorry, it's kind of difficult to display. Oh, I'm so happy with this. So this is from DC Comics, which is so cool. Yeah, I'm excited to read it. And then the last two are both from the publisher Drawn and Quarterly, which I've read a lot of their stuff. Drawn and Quarterly puts out really good stuff. And so they were selling my books at a great discount. So I did have to snap them up and buy some. So this one's called Grass by Miss Gendry Kim. So this is actually a true story. The author interviews a woman who, a Korean woman who was abducted and forced into sexual slavery, being a comfort woman for the Japanese military during World War II. So this is not a lighthearted read by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very powerful, emotionally impactful, and I respect it very much. And I'm glad to have this on my shelves as a piece of history and an excellent graphic novel. And then finally, another one from, oh, not finally, I have one more after this actually, but here's another one from Drawn and Quarterly called Moon Cop. So look at this, teeny tiny, I read it in about an hour. I love Moon Cop so much. It's just about a guy who's a cop on the moon, and you know, cops usually pretty bad. Sorry, hot take. But this guy is one of the 3 people that lives on the moon, so he's not doing a whole lot of policing. In fact, he's just living a lonely little life in a moon colony that's slowly shutting down. It's very cute. There's also a dog, and the dog's in a spacesuit, dog on the moon. I love it. I highly recommend Moon Cop. Okay, and then now finally, I picked up I already have the regular edition, paperback edition of Genderqueer by Mayako Bebe, but they just re-released it in hardcover deluxe edition, and they were selling it, and Maya was signing it. So I got to meet Mayako Bebe, and I'm excited. This is a book that kind of changed my life. It made me think a lot about myself and my identity. And it constantly has me thinking and rethinking. So for any queer person, anyone, this is the one book out of every book that I've read in the last 12 months that I think should be mandatory reading for everyone. It's phenomenal. So, okay, so that's it for graphic novels. So now the last category that I want to do today, sorry, I'm arranging and rearranging. Okay, so now that we're through with graphic novels, I have one last category of finished copy books that I want to share with you today, and that is my teen YA stack, which this is, I think, one of the biggest stacks of all of them that I have. So let's just get into it. So first of all, I won a giveaway from Page Street Books. I just entered my name in a little raffle, and I wasn't expecting to win at all, but I won the raffle for their YA book basket. So they gave me like 6 titles. So I will share those with you real quick in rapid fire. I know very little about them, but I'll try my best. Okay, so here's one called The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovalino. It is about a girl named Tess Matheson, who is a summer library